Welcome to Popcorn History. I'm Stephanie Kibler with the Freeborn County Historical Museum, Library and Village, along with Risha Lilienthal, a collections and exhibit coordinator at the museum, and Reggie Bauer, operations manager at Power 96. I feel like I need to do a Power 90. I had to figure out how to do a demo for you.
I feel like you always have that Bauer.
I know. Reggie Bauer is such a good name. It's
I always have friends that are like Power 96 to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's where I work.
It's Bauer at Power 96.
Yeah. Well, and like I've said, I think I've told you guys before, at one point when I was trying to figure out a name for a morning show, at one point I did throw around the possibility of doing the Bauer 96 morning show, and I, of course, decided against it. But it's still fun to think about.
I like that one. Anyway, today we have the theme of cap and characters.
Yeah. Lots of fine arts we're throwing out here.
There is a lot of fine arts that we're throwing out here. You're right.
Mm-hmm. So I started out and I was like, musicians. Because we have a lot of musicians in Freeborn County that have been noticed and well known, I guess. One just came up in the paper recently, just on April 28th this year, which is Wayne Turner Peterson is his name.
And who's Wayne Turner Peterson?
So he just passed on April 7th of this year at age 93. And he's a composer, a pianist, educator, and he won a Pulitzer Prize for music.
Wow.
Yeah, he was born in Albert Lea and was here pretty much through his late teens when he started to tour with a big band. And he studied in England at the Royal Academy of Music.
Wow.
So,
he was pretty
big. I
wish somebody still had a big band that would play on weekends. Wouldn't that be fun?
Some VFWs have some little big bands. I guess that's kind of a contradiction, but
Little Big Band, isn't there a country music?
Little Big Town.
Yeah. But no, the big bands, they're hard to find nowadays.
God, this would be a blast.
But he taught music at San Francisco State University, and his Pulitzer Prize came in 1992 for his work, The Face of the Night, The Heart of the Dark, is what it was called, which was commissioned by the San Francisco Symphony. And so there was a little controversy around his Pulitzer Prize. So the Pulitzer works by a board, coming together, and then they listen to juries and stuff, talk about the different, nominees nominees, the different sections of each Pulitzer, because, you have a literature Pulitzer, and this one was the music one. And so there was a unanimous choice by the music jury as to who should win, but the Pulitzer board gave it to Wayne Peterson instead of the unanimously chosen one.
Wow.
And the jury had selected Ralph Shapey's Concerto Fantastique, that's what it is, Concerto Fantastique. After they chose Peterson's piece, the jurors issued a public statement saying that the Pulitzer board was not professionally qualified to reverse their decision as to who should have won, but they also did praise Peterson's work as a masterful orchestral essay.
So how often do you think that happens, where that gets overturned?
Apparently this was kind of not a common thing, and it actually changed how they did ruling on the Pulitzers in 1992.
Kind of a one-off thing, and then they were like, well, we're not going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
It was probably a thing where it was on honor, you kind of listened to them, but you could have your own choice, but they just decided not to.
Sure.
And Peterson also said that he would have voted for Shapey's piece if he was a juror, but he was like, I'm just honored to be a nominee,
That's any creative. We're always going to put everything else above our own stuff. That's just...
Because I think part of that creative flow is you're always doubting what your own stuff is.
You know where exactly the flaws are.
Yeah.
You can't hear them in other people's stuff.
Well, and I think it's that too. And like you said, you can't hear it in other people's stuff. So you're like, this is so amazing what somebody else has done. So you just bustle them up. I don't know. Bolster. That's the word. Bolster them up.
Or buster them up.
Buster them up. But he lived here in Albert Lea, and his family had like a long history in Albert Lea. His grandpa was a barbershop owner here, and his mother was here with her family. She had the Turner, so his middle name Turner came from her last name. So the Turners were kind of in here. But his mother died before he finished high school, and fairly suddenly. She had been having headaches, and she was 39 years old.
Ooh.
And she had been having headaches and was found by her husband in their home collapsed.
Oh.
And they believed that she had a heart attack.
Oh, that's terrible.
So, yeah.
That's young.
It was very
or an
young.
aneurysm.
Right. That's what
I
been.
thought you were going to say.
It was in 45, so I don't know how.
Probably not as quick to diagnose
Right.
that. Yeah, wow.
But his uncle, Cecil Turner, who was her brother, he was also a musician and a teacher. And after retiring from teaching music in 1958, he started into music retail. And he had a music store in Albert Lea called the Copet, Kopet. I don't know, Copet.
I know I've seen that in a couple other things that we've...
Yeah, he had that music center here in Albert Lea. And so that's music all around in that family.
That's kind of fun. Wow. I'm still stuck on the Pulitzer.
Yeah. And is it Pulitzer?
That's a really good question.
I always hear it both ways, depending on who you are.
Probably depends on what country you're in.
Pulitzer,
dialogue. Pulitzer. It's probably
dialect.
Pulitzer.
Yeah, that's
let's
what I
see
keep hearing,
here.
like the fancy dancies say.
They just did an honorary Pulitzer to that young lady up in Minneapolis.
Oh.
Who recorded the murder of George Floyd.
Oh, sure.
She was awarded
Take your bets. What's pronunciation?
Pulitzer.
That's my guessing.
It's Pulitzer.
It's Pulitzer?
It's actually Pulitzer.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I love it. Pulitzer.
The Pulitzer
Now that you
Prize.
know.
So the first time I said it right, and then the last 3 times I've said it wrong.
I've been saying it wrong all along. So.
Wow. I don't have a Pulitzer Prize winner here. But the minute you threw out musician, I thought of Cap Emmons. Lawrence J. Cap Emmons was born in 1897 in Emmons, Minnesota.
Wait, so his
That's
last
funny.
name was Emmons, and
Yes.
he was born in
Yeah.
Emmons, Minnesota.
Yes.
It wasn't just like named after him or something.
No, it was named after his grandfather back in 1855 when he started farming there.
Oh, my
Oh, so his
gosh.
grandfather is
Emmons.
Is
He's
why
the
Emmons
Emmons.
is called Emmons.
Yes. His
That's
grandfather, Harry.
okay.
Harry Emmons. And he attended Emmons School, but then he went on to Waldorf College in 1916, St. Olaf College in 1919, a year of seminary at Luther Seminary in St. Paul, and then he attended Juilliard School of Music in New York, where he graduated in 1922, and then came back here in 1923.
He's a Juilliard guy.
Juilliard guy, yeah. And then came back to Albert Lea with a degree from Juilliard.
Right.
I think that's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
And spent 40 years here, or more than 40 years, directing the bands, the choirs, and the orchestras when he first started out. And then eventually ended up with his own staff that had to take on some of his duties. The Community Magazine in October of 56 published a photo of the 1923 yearbook picture of the first band. And it says, a rather stiff-shirted, unsmiling bunch clasping a handful of horns.
Oh, wow.
But if you look at the picture, Cap Emmons is also in the picture, and he looks like he's the same age as some of the boys
Oh, wow.
in the high school.
Oh, my goodness.
But there were little boys that were wearing knickers and long stockings.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yes, super
adorable.
cute picture. So back in the 20s when he started, band directing was considered like an extra job at the school.
Oh, no.
So anytime they needed a teacher, he was called to fill in.
Oh.
So he taught ancient and modern history. He's known to have said, I don't think I ever taught American history.
Oh, wow.
He also taught sociology, general science, commercial geography, and numerous other topics. What is commercial geography? I have not a clue what that is.
Oh, my goodness.
I could have Googled that, and I didn't. I just thought that's an interesting...
That is interesting. That's the combination of those two things.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Okay, yeah, this was kind of where my brain was thinking.
Is it like urban?
No, it's geography, according to Merriam-Webster. Geography that deals with commodities according to their places of origin and their paths of transportation.
Interesting. Okay. Well, he taught that.
So, wait, is it kind of like etymology, but with objects?
I don't think so. Etymology is like where words came from, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, where the objects came from, right?
This is where I just sit back.
Save this for the beers later.
That's so funny. So as the band grew, which he started with, like, I think it was 13 kids. And I believe at the time of his retirement, the high school band had over 95
Nice.
band members. And that was just, that was the senior high. So not just the junior high also was something that he'd been apparently a part of when it initially started. It was like one group. So this was kind of funny because he had made some comments about the tempo becoming faster as the years passed.
Oh, sure.
And he said, I quote Cap Emmons here, "Kids like to whoop it up much more today than those first bands." And that's like in the 40s, 50s.
That's such a 40s, 50s thing to say.
That's adorable.
And I'm thinking, I wonder what he would think now.
Yeah.
When you look at some of the marching bands and the modern day songs that they use.
I have some very, like, underground EDM. I'm sure he would have
Right.
some opinions about.
He was one of the founders of the Big Nine Music Festival, which I did not know. And it was at the time, that was the first of its kind in the nation.
Yeah.
Wow.
The, what is it called here? There's one up in the cities that was fashioned, that the Great Lakes Music Festival in the Twin Cities is modeled after it. And this is the 89th year of the Big Nine.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. I did not realize he was a founding member of that. So it started in 1933 with the goal of promoting high school music programs and to give students from our conference an opportunity to hear another marching band playing and singing. It was supposed to be fun without the element of competition. But now it's this huge competition.
Right.
So I thought that was cool. Longest running music festival of its kind in the nation.
Huh.
And then, of course, we all know the Cap Emmons Auditorium was named after or in honor of Cap,
Sure.
which is no longer around. And we do have some
Right.
really great pieces at the museum. But I didn't realize that it was more than just used for high school performances. So the National Audubon had films that were shown there. The band Chameleon with lead singer Yanni performed there.
Whoa. Whoa. Reggie's face.
No, I went to college. One of my teachers was one of the band members from Chameleon.
Oh my gosh, that's
Back in
so
the day.
funny.
Dugan McNeil, if anybody knows that name.
What is it? Is it 9 degrees? 6 degrees of
6
separation?
degrees separation, yeah.
Yep.
Or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
That's the one.
Yeah, so I thought
Wow.
it didn't occur to me though that I assumed the auditorium was strictly used for high school purposes, but it was also community purposes. So yeah, I was fascinated with them. I'm a marching band geek. I grew up
What, you played French horn?
French
Was that the
horn,
one?
marched
Yep.
with my French horn. It was a lot of fun. We played every football game, halftime show. Do they still do that?
I was in pep band and marching band. They
I
did
like,
too.
the football games and stuff. Yeah, they still have those.
I don't think the
there.
smaller
I don't know
communities
about
do as
every
much.
game. I don't know about every game, but certainly, I mean, where I'm from, Hastings, they had at least 2 or 3 of the home games. We had the marching band there, and even if they weren't marching, they still had the whole section.
Yeah.
Just like in the stands would do their deal too.
I feel like we marched at every halftime show.
Yeah, that was my high school.
Yeah.
Do you play an instrument, Reggie?
Well, not in marching band, but I mean,
Well, sure.
I play piano. Although I did do some.
What? You
some
don't
sort of
march with
band.
that?
No, it's a little heavy. I did play some like percussion in like regular varsity band for a year, so there was that.
Nice.
You can march with percussion.
Yeah, that one you can do. Well, okay, when you said Cap Emmons, I immediately thought about the auditorium because we have, the theater seats and a
Right.
lot of cool items from there. And auditorium in my mind has always equaled theater. Just because we had an auditorium in high school, and we had all of our theater productions there, and so it was our theater. And so I went to looking at the theaters in Albert Lea here, which we had the Broadway Theater and the Rivoli. I always want to say Rivoli, but it's Rivoli Theater, and the Marion Ross Performing Arts Theater, which used to be ACT. And then there was also the Starlight Drive-In Theater.
I loved going to the Starlight. My first movie there was Airplane with my mom.
What? Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I've always wanted to go to a drive-in theater. They aren't very popular anymore now.
No.
You know?
Back home, there was one just across the Mississippi from Hastings to Cottage Grove. They had one over there. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head. But they closed it down while I was in high school to put a freaking Walmart there.
And that was like one of the last ones up there to shut down. That was a great one. I've been to that one. There used to be one off of Highway 36 in White Bear. That was a good one.
So it opened in 1949.
Wow.
So it's pretty decently back in the day, at least for me.
It would be for me too.
Yep. That wasn't a dig towards you.
I'm not 95 years old yet.
But it opened on Highway 16, which then turned into County Road 46 between Albert Lea and Austin. And it was built by the Friedman brothers, who were the owners of Broadway and the Rivoli theaters.
Oh.
And it covered 12 acres of ground and would accommodate 500 cars. And they had a screen which could show a picture of 52 feet by 46 feet, which is about 4 times the size of a picture of an ordinary movie theater.
Wow. I suppose, though, cars, you're way back in the back row.
You want to be able to see at least something.
Yeah. And each car was equipped with its own speaker unit where the patron may adjust the volume of the sound to his or her own liking.
So, you'd pull up.
Yeah.
So there'd be like a spot for 2 cars. So it'd be car 1, car 2, and the speaker units were here on either side.
Oh.
And so one car would come in on the driver's side, one car would come in on the passenger side, but you'd lift it off the pole and hang it on your car window.
Whoa. Okay, so my mom used to go to drive-in movie theaters when she was in her teen years, and she had a friend who loved horror movies, and my mom cannot stand horror movies.
Yeah.
And they went to the movie The Hills Have Eyes.
Ew.
And it was drive-in. And so her friend, has the speaker there, and it was like a 3-movie drive-in, so like you had 3 different movies you could be looking at, but you had the speaker for one sound.
Oh.
And so my mom was getting scared, and so she turns around, and it was some cartoon that was on another one. And so she's watching that, and it's all like this nice, lovely, like beautiful, bright colors while she's hearing these like terrifying sounds of this horror movie because she didn't want to be watching the horror movie.
I've never watched The Hills Have Eyes because it seemed too scary.
Well, it was banned in a couple of states.
Was it really?
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not even...
But anyways, that was my speaker story for that. But they had a staff of 30 people to give the best service. Yeah.
Well, I suppose the snack shop,
right.
And then they probably had I'm going to assume they had security going around.
Mm-hmm. And they had restrooms to be upkeep and just to ticket people in and out too, And so the article I was reading from the Albert Lea Tribune said it wasn't long before area families started to go to the Starlight by the carloads. And children under 12 years old could get in free. And parents could dress their children in pajamas or nightgowns. Isn't that great?
It was awesome. Bring your blankie and your pillow.
That's so sweet.
I did that with my kids.
Aww.
When my kids are little, we saw a couple of movies at the double features at the drive-in. Probably the one off of Highway 36 in White Bear, I bet. Yeah.
Well, and they did have a challenge for having the groups trying to get free admittance because they could be hiding people in their trunk or laying down across the back seat.
I saw people get busted on the trunk thing because they couldn't keep quiet. So you're getting your ticket and somebody moves and then you hear thud, thud.
How do you have a hard time keeping quiet? You just lay still.
You're teenagers. I don't know. I saw kids get busted on that.
That's funny. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Wonder what my last drive-in movie was that I saw. It was probably Disney or some silly thing.
Probably.
Oh my goodness. Probably. Oh, and there were weekend all-nighters, which were really cool, where they would have films going all the night through on the weekends. I love that.
That sounds kind of fun.
Right? Except they were normally either racy films or cheap and poorly made horror flicks. Also, this is funny.
Those B movies.
There's no such thing as a horrible, cheap horror film. There's not. The cheaper the horror film, the better it is. We just were talking about the giant ants, giant spiders, the man-eating bunny rabbits. Those are classics.
But along with those, this is funny, they're also beach-themed movies.
Oh, like Annette Funicello and what's his name? Frankie Avalon.
I don't know.
Beach Blanket Bingo.
You're throwing out words.
I've heard the name.
Those would be horrible movies.
Oh,
I
no.
shouldn't say that, maybe. Those are movies I don't care for.
Sure. But there's a rather obscure song called Drive-In Show, and that was by Eddie Cochran.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so it's speculated that he might have written that thinking about the Starlight and going there as a younger kid before they left.
Yeah, because that would have been right about the age. Yeah.
He left around 1955, and so it was open for at least 5 years while he was there.
And he'd have memories of that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of sweet, huh? Well, that's pretty
It's
cool.
kind of a fun song, too. It's the nice kind of, like, the 50s kind of bouncing rock, I guess. Yeah. Or you could do the stroll to it, too. It's a fun dance move.
He actually had a cameo in a movie.
Yeah.
What was the name of the movie? I should have it here somewhere. The Girl Can't Help It with Jane
Girl Can't Help
Mansfield. I have not watched the cameo. Is there a video out there of him?
Oh,
we should look at
probably.
that.
We
I
should
don't
look
know
it
if there
up.
is. I have not looked for that, but
His filmography lists 3 movies: The Girl Can't Help It, Untamed Youth, and Go Johnny Go.
Go Johnny Go and Untamed Youth. I don't think he had a cameo though, did he?
Well,
he did. His music was in though.
Yes, Go Johnny Go is the one where he's playing on the
plays
screen.
himself.
Yep,
I think
he plays
in
himself.
The Girl Can't Help It, he had words.
Yes, yep, and that's the one where he's wearing a flat cap too, isn't it?
I think so.
His name is like Bobo or something.
Yes.
In it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Untamed Youth, he plays a character named Bong.
Bong.
that's what
that's
it
the
was.
one.
But he didn't speak in that one either, did he? Maybe he
I
did.
think that's one. I think he did speak in that
Okay.
one. Yeah, because I remember a picture of him like flowing out his like hands and like in like a A, like kind of, I don't know.
Says the film features Eddie Cochran as Bong,
Yeah.
one of the prisoners in the camp who performs a song on screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so his music is, again,
Right.
interesting. Well, Albert Lee has got, there's quite a few celebrities that come from Albert Lee. In fact, even if you go back to Cap Emmons, some of his students were...
Probably friends with him, huh?
No, I don't know about that. Maybe. I suppose Cap Emmons probably had Eddie Cochran in band at some point.
Oh.
Possibly. I don't know.
Not for very long. Because he wanted to play multiple instruments and he was only allowed to play one.
Cease Turner and Earl Evans played with Phil Harris Orchestra and then went into the dance music field.
Did you just say Cecil Turner?
It said Cease Turner.
Yeah, because that was his nickname.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the uncle of the guy I talked about with the
you're right.
the Pulitzer
I didn't
Prize.
put it together because it's Cease.
Yeah.
Tom Nee directed music at Hamlin and then went on to be the director of the Paul Schmidt Music Company in Minneapolis. So that for someone into orchestra would be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course, we have Marion Ross,
Right.
who's coming to town in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Exciting. Richard Carlson.
Oh, I know.
Creature from the
Black
Lagoon.
Lagoon.
Peter
fun.
Gary, who was born in 1917, had several movie roles that he was in the 1940s.
What was his name?
Peter Gary, Garey. There's also a younger, more recent celebrity, what was born in Albert Lea, with ties to Marion Ross kind of loosely.
Oh.
During the 2003 pilot season on television, there's a series that aired, Windward Circle, formerly the untitled Gilmore Girls spinoff pilot.
Oh my gosh.
Pilot aired actually as an episode of Gilmore Girls as Here Comes the Sun on May 13th of 2003. Alex Kermes played the role of Lily, and Alex was born here in Albert Lea.
What?
Started modeling and acting in the Minneapolis market by the age of 2.
Wow.
Has done print work and commercials, was featured on a teen magazine, had a small part when she was quite young in the Minneapolis College of Art and Design student short film.
Nice.
And her sister, Sage, is also an actress. And Kermes now is producing and acting and modeling full-time. She's a lead in a new media show called New Dogs, Old Tricks, and upcoming series Scheming, executive producer Reggie in Atlanta. And that was a gal I had never heard of.
No, me neither. That's cool.
So, yeah, I thought it was really interesting. She had the tie to Marion, and Marion's almost here, and the statue's being dedicated.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, I can't think of, what was Marion's role? Grandma Gilmore.
Oh, Trix.
Trix, thank you. I wonder if they met.
I don't know. And then we're like, Albert Lea.
Albert Lea, that's cool. Huh.
That's fun.
Anyway, I just thought that was really kind of a fun little. She's rather new. She's not all that historic.
Yeah.
She does have that.
She's a
little
part of our
tie.
history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And with that, we should pick a movie and put some popcorn on.
Yeah.